V, 7030R, 7032R, 7035AT, 7042MD, 7044MD, 7042MD Rev, and 7044MD Rev. The rate increases being sought range from 0% to 269% and are dependent upon the policy form, the inflation option, and the benefit period. These requests are going to affect 15,533 Maryland policyholders in total. The purpose of this hearing is for the insurance company officials to explain the reasons for the rate increases and for the MIA to consider whether the proposed rate increases complies with Maryland laws and regulations related to long-term care insurance. We will also be listening to comments from consumers and other interested parties. We are here to listen and ask questions of the carrier and consumers regarding the specific rate increase requests before us today. I would like to take a moment to introduce my colleague here beside me from the Maryland Insurance Administration, Adam Zimmerman. He is the senior actuary with long-term care experience. I'm going to go over a few procedures that we are going to follow today. When it is time for public comments, we're going to first call upon any members of the public who registered to speak in advance. To the extent the time and technology permit, the MIA will hear from unregistered participants who access the Zoom webinar platform who are attending the hearing in person. If using Zoom, you can communicate with us through the chat function and indicate that you would like to speak. With the exception of MIA staff, this hearing is not a question and answer forum. Comments from interested parties were received and reviewed in advance of this meeting. The MIA will continue to keep the record open until Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 for additional written testimony, at which point all written testimony will be published to our website. The video of today's meeting, as well as all written testimony submitted, will be posted on the website. This can be found by going to the MIA's main website, clicking on the Consumers tab at the top of the homepage, and then clicking Long-Term Care link. To help ensure excellent sound quality throughout the hearing, we ask anyone who is not speaking to please remain on mute. Also, anytime before speaking, if you could restate your name clearly, that would be great help. Thank you very much. We will be asking the carriers to speak first regarding the rate increase request. After the carriers have spoken, all interested stakeholders will be invited to speak. I will now turn it over to Genworth and will allow them the opportunity to discuss the pending rate increases.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Vachinsky, and I'm an actuary in Genworth's Long-Term Care Enforced Business Unit. I am in good standing with the Society of Actuaries and the American Academy of Actuaries. Commissioner Brain, Brad, thank you, and the Maryland Insurance Administration team for holding today's virtual hearing, which is now hybrid, and for providing Genworth and our policyholders an opportunity to discuss our long-term care insurance policies. I'd also like to thank the policyholders for your interest and participation. Genworth understands that your long-term care insurance coverage is important and welcomes this opportunity to participate in the hearing. Genworth understands that our ability to support, service, and protect you, our policyholders, is of absolute importance. We take this very seriously and affirm our commitment to being there for our policyholders when they need us. Genworth has been selling long-term care insurance in the state of Maryland since 1978 and currently provides coverage for approximately 27,000 Maryland policyholders and approximately 1 million policyholders nationwide. I'm here today to speak specifically about our current long-term care premium rate increase filings, which are pending with the Maryland Insurance Administration. Genworth understands premium increases can be difficult for our policyholders, so we are committed to providing information that explains why rate increases are needed. We also want to discuss the various options we offer our policyholders and the ways we assist each of you to make informed choices about your specific LTC insurance needs. Genworth is currently seeking rate increases on 4 individual products issued between 1994 and 2011. These are the only products with current pending filings in Maryland, but we will continue to seek rate increases on other products in Maryland and nationwide. When we price these policy forms, we utilize professional actuarial judgment to develop assumptions that look forward as many as 60 years into the future. In keeping with our actuarial precepts and standards of practice, Genworth employs our best efforts to complete a thorough professional assessment at the time of original pricing and as we evaluate the blocks on an ongoing basis. Since these policy forms were priced, claim information, which informs our assumptions, has increased significantly for Genworth. We have seen that claims continue to cost more and occur with higher frequency than originally anticipated. Yet we are sensitive to the impact these rate increases have on policyholders, and Genworth is sharing in the cost of these necessary rate increases. We have stated publicly that all proceeds from approved LTC premium increases would remain in GLIC and be used for the sole purpose of paying LTC claims, and that none of the benefits from approved LTC premium increases would ever be paid to Genworth Financial, its shareholders, or other stakeholders other than GLIC policyholders. These blocks of business are being managed solely for the benefit of policyholders. Genworth has a high concentration of policies with a compound benefit increase option at about 60% of policyholders. 42% of policyholders have a 5% compound benefit increase option. Due to these inflation options, these policies typically have the richest benefits and are expected to have the largest claims. Additionally, Genworth continues to see a large concentration of policyholders that retain a lifetime benefit period on our older blocks of business. For example, on our older PCS1, PCS2, and Choice 1 products, we see 27% of Maryland policyholders having a lifetime benefit period. In 2022, Genworth began differentiating rate increase requests based on both benefit period and level of benefit increase options for most policy forms to address specifically the potential future experience associated with these options. It is our intent to act in a timely manner and work diligently with regulators to obtain approval for the full amount of the proposed rate increases, as we seek to avoid more significant premium rate increases on newer blocks that would be otherwise required when the average attained ages are higher. As it relates to the specific increase request at this time, our PCS1 product series includes the following form numbers: 7000AP, 7020BB, and 7020V. The rate increase request varies between policies with unlimited versus limited benefit periods. We are seeking premium increases of 148% for policies with an unlimited benefit period and 35% for policies with a limited benefit period. Acknowledging Maryland regulation, Genworth would be willing to implement the requested rate increase over 7 years for policies with an unlimited benefit period and 3 years for policies with a limited benefit period, with no more than a 15% increase in each year. This rate increase will impact approximately 675 policyholders. These forms have received 7 prior rate increases, and any approvals above 15% were implemented so that no increases exceeded 15% in a single year. Our PCS2 product series includes the following policy form numbers: 7030R and 7032R. The rate increase request varies between policies with unlimited versus limited benefit periods, as well as policies with low benefit increase options, less than 3% benefit increase option, versus high benefit increase options, either 3% or 5% options. We are seeking premium rate increases of 269% for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 131% for policies with a limited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 155% for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a low benefit increase option, and 29% for policies with a limited benefit period and a low benefit increase option. Acknowledging Maryland regulation, Genworth would be willing to implement the requested rate increases over 10 years for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 6 years for policies with a limited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 7 years for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a low benefit increase option, and 2 years for policies with a limited benefit period and a low benefit increase option, with no more than a 15% increase in each year. This rate increase will impact approximately 3,700 policyholders. These policy forms have received 7 prior rate increases, and any approvals above 15% were implemented so that no increases exceeded 15% in a single year. Our Choice 1 product series includes policy form number 7035AT. The rate increase request varies between policies with unlimited versus limited benefit periods, as well as policies with low benefit increase options versus high benefit increase options. We are seeking premium rate increases of 217% for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 134% for policies with a limited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 220% for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a low benefit increase option, and 134% for policies with a limited benefit period and a low benefit increase option. Acknowledging Maryland regulation, Genworth would be willing to implement the requested rate increase over 9 years for policies with an unlimited benefit and 6 years for policies with a limited benefit period with no more than a 15% increase in each year. This rate increase will impact approximately 3,600 policyholders. These policy forms have received 6 prior rate increases, and any approvals above 15% were implemented such that no increases exceeded 15% in any single year. Lastly, our Choice 2 and 2.1 product series includes the following policy form numbers: 7042MD, 7044MD, 7042MD Rev, and 7044MD Rev. The rate increase request varies between policies with unlimited versus limited benefit periods, as well as policies with low benefit increase options versus high benefit increase options. We are seeking premium rate increases of 218% for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 119% for policies with a limited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, and 115% for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a low benefit increase option. We are not seeking rate increases on policies with a limited benefit period and a low benefit increase option. Acknowledging Maryland regulation, Genworth would be willing to implement the requested rate increases over 14 years for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, 8 years for policies with a limited benefit period and a high benefit increase option, and 8 years for policies with an unlimited benefit period and a low benefit increase option, with no more than a 15% increase in each year. The limitation of 15% in a single year will result in a higher rate level than requested due to the cost of delay in implementing the full rate increase. This rate increase will impact approximately 7,600 policyholders. These policy forms have received 5 prior rate increases, and any approvals above 15% were implemented so that no increases exceeded 15% in any single year. For all the product series which are part of this rate increase filing, Genworth will continue to evaluate whether additional rate increases will be needed as experience emerges. Premium increases result in a very important and impactful decision for many policyholders. We know this because we talk to our customers every day. To support our policyholders, we have a dedicated team of specially trained customer service representatives whose sole responsibility is to take calls related to rate increases. Our customer service representatives are ready and willing to help our policyholders understand their options so they can determine the best course of action for their individual situation. To further that commitment to our policyholders' experience, we have added a high-touch education-focused team that can provide an even deeper level of support, information, and resources to customers who want additional help as they navigate their decision. We also have websites and tools that provide policyholders with helpful information on why increases are needed, options they may have, the value of coverage, and frequently asked questions. Last year, we launched the Coverage Needs Estimator. This personalized online tool provides comparative information for policyholders to consider when thinking about their coverage needs. With this tool, policyholders can estimate the median cost of care services in their area and see how their estimated future policy benefits align with their potential care costs. We continue to offer policyholders, subject to a rate increase, a variety of options. They can choose to pay the full amount of the rate increase and maintain the current level of protection. From our overall nationwide experience on the rate increases we've implemented since 2012, even with the variety of options provided, we have seen approximately 51% of our policyholders choose to pay the higher premiums as of October 31st, 2023. Or instead of paying the full increase, our policyholders can make customized benefit adjustments to find the right balance of affordability and protection for their individual situation. PCS2 and Choice 1 policyholders have the option to elect our lifetime stable premium option. This option is designed to have a reduced but still meaningful set of benefits and provides the stability of a lifetime premium rate guarantee. Choice 2 policyholders have the option to elect our flexible benefit option. This option is designed to have a reduced but still meaningful set of benefits and provides the stability of a premium rate guarantee until 2030. Additionally, for Choice 2 policyholders, Genworth offers a 1% compound benefit increase option that policyholders who already have a benefit increase option can select to reduce benefits. Policyholders who elect this option may retain their higher accumulated daily or monthly maximums with 1% compound increases going forward. For policyholders who decide not to pay any future premiums and who do not otherwise qualify for another option to maintain the policy while ceasing to pay premiums, we voluntarily offer a non-forfeiture option that equals a paid-up policy. With this option, if the policyholder becomes claim eligible, Genworth will reimburse eligible expenses up to the amount of premium paid, minus any claims that we previously paid. In addition, a policyholder will still have access to the care coordination services our company provides. We are also expanding our wellness program efforts to reach more policyholders earlier in their claim journey. Since 2022, our clinically trained team has offered one-on-one coaching and support for policyholders nearing an expected claim. We've recently introduced daily living aid kits that may assist policyholders with key risk areas like fall prevention and home safety. These services are available to policyholders at no additional cost. We plan to start making this program available to a wider group of policyholders in 2024, beginning with Choice 1 policyholders between the ages of 76 and 81. This expansion will include Choice 1 policyholders in Maryland. I hope that the comments today have demonstrated that Genworth actively manages our business and try to ensure that we will be here for our policyholders when they need us most, to make sure we are able to provide the answers you need and to pay eligible claims if and when those needs should arise. To date, Genworth has paid over $28 billion to our policyholders on nearly 362,000 claims for eligible long-term care benefits. Genworth is committed to keeping our promises to our customers and paying all eligible claims. But again, actuarially based premium rate increases or policy adjustments are important to our ability to do so over the life of these policies. Genworth is in a unique position relative to other carriers with a material LTC concentration. Approximately 64% of our total reserves back LTC liabilities, and this number is projected to increase to approximately 69% by year-end 2026. Any reserves that are released due to policyholder elections, including effective terminations or benefit reductions, are used to support the LTC business and its claim paying ability. As I previously noted, all proceeds from approved LTC premium increases will remain in GLIC and be used for the sole purpose of paying LTC claims. None of the benefits from approved LTC premium increases will ever be paid to Genworth Financial, its shareholders, or other stakeholders other than GLIC policyholders. In fact, GLIC last paid a dividend to our holding company in 2015. In conclusion, Genworth remains committed to working with the Maryland Insurance Administration to implement actuarially justified rate increases in a reasonable and responsible manner, keeping in mind policyholder interests and concerns. Again, thank you, Commissioner Brain and the Maryland Insurance Administration for the opportunity to participate in today's hearing. I would be happy to answer any questions from you or members of your team.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Alex. I do have a couple questions for you. So the first question I had was just to expound and clarify the relationship between GLIC, General Life Insurance Company, and General Financial. We've received several comments of policyholders who have recently listened to the Genworth annual earnings call and have heard about dividends being paid out and are concerned about that and concerned that premium increases are going to pay those dividends. So can you clarify and expound on that relationship, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do so, Brad. I think this is a very important question, so we appreciate that. Genworth Life Insurance Company is a subsidiary of Genworth Financial. As such, the entire entity is within the larger holding company. However, given the current position of the life insurance entity, we've publicly stated that our intention is to not take any of the proceeds from rate increases and allow them to leave that entity. In other words, any activity that's happening at the holding company level involving dividends or things along those lines are completely are certainly not being funded by activity from Genworth Life Insurance Company. To summarize, the any proceeds from rate increases are not leaving the entity. They're being retained within the company and being used to continue protecting the claim paying ability of the entity, which is the sole purpose of the rate increases.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Adam, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah, I had a question. If you could please clarify regarding the Choice 2 and Choice 2.1 policy forms. So they're the ones that are currently subject to the settlement, right? Or has that been completed?
That is correct. That the Choice 2 policyholders were included in a settlement. There were prior settlements of a similar nature that applied to some of the older generations, and that would actually include the other product series today. So Choice 1, PCS 2, and PCS 1. Choice 1, that has been completely implemented, that settlement. That was the first temporarily. The second impacted PCS 1 and 2 simultaneously, and that is nearing completion, pretty much essentially there at that point. And the final settlement is currently in flight as far as those notifications go for Choice 2.
All right, thank you. So just to clarify, because we've been receiving a large number of consumer complaints regarding these settlements. So the rate increases filed for this block and really any block that is subject to one of those settlements, right? Those rate increases are not filed as a result of the settlement, but rather, the settlement is providing consumers information with the future rate increase plans for that particular block of business and allowing them a one-time option to elect some other rate mitigation options that wouldn't normally be available to them. And I only bring this up because, as I said, we've been receiving a large number of consumer complaints, mainly because the consumer sees this large increase, whether it is 200-something%, and is under the assumption that it's already been approved or going to be implemented on their policy. So if you could just provide some clarification regarding that.
Certainly. I think I'll lead with agreement that what you said was true across the board there. I'll expand on a couple items. The rate increases, as you said, disclosed in any notification letters for the settlement are just that. They are what we plan to request. We will continue to file those with the Maryland Insurance Administration, and nothing would be implemented until approved. I would also highlight many of the options I just discussed that are offered at the time of a rate increase notification. Those are regularly available, and to contrast that, yes, the options in the settlement notification are one-time. A one-time opportunity to elect them. What we tried to do was inform them of the future plans so that they had information about our intentions as they potentially made decisions surrounding their policy. Did I address everything you asked there, Adam?
Yes, I believe so. Brad, did you have anything?
No, I think you made that clear. Thank you. I have an additional question. So we have been seeing some divergence between Genworth and non-Genworth filings. In 2021, the average Genworth increase was 91%, very close to the average non-Genworth increase of 82%. So far in 2023, the average across all of your filings has been 151% compared to an average of 58% for non-Genworth filings. As we've been investigating what is causing this divergence, all of the filings have the same assumptions in common that you mentioned earlier, that claims are continuing to cost more and to occur with higher frequency than originally anticipated for a variety of reasons: lapse rates, mortality rates, morbidity rates. But the one assumption that seems to be changing in the Genworth filings compared to the 2021 and now is the margin for adverse experience. You did not mention that in your testimony, and I was wondering if you could please define what margin for adverse experience is and how that MAE assumption was for the original filings and how Genworth's assumption changing, thinking on that assumption is changing in 2023 versus 2021 and earlier.
Would be happy to address that, Brad. So to clarify, there is a provision for regulation that does not apply to all of the forms in question for the blocks under consideration today. It would only be relevant to choice 2, so that would be the 7042 and 7044 policy forms. There is a requirement that the actuaries, as we consider the amount of necessary rate increase, that there is a provision for future adverse experience, and that's the MAE. It's a margin for adverse experience and a margin for moderately adverse experience, excuse me. And at the original pricing of these products, we had used essentially a 10% factor to determine that. I think that was a very reasonable assumption at the time. But what we have done is, as I stated earlier, we continue to assess our experience annually in most instances for most assumptions. And it was our judgment that 10% was not sufficient to cover the description of moderately adverse. We think there was too much volatility and uncertainty to feel confident in 10% being sufficient. And to try to keep in spirit with that requirement, we did update our approach there. And rather than using a simple factor, we did create a sensitivity where we looked at assumptions individually, determined based on the experience we've had what a moderately adverse future scenario could look like, and use that to determine the requested rate increases. So that it is a difference and an adjustment in our practices. I can't speak to other carriers' assumptions. I am well aware that other carriers have faced similar and even comparable stresses to their own experience and therefore updated their assumptions accordingly. But I would say that we continue to see the stress on those factors as a larger factor for the need for rate increases than the MEA itself, but the margin for adverse experience, though that is certainly a factor for those filings.
Thank you for that clarification, Alex. And so should we expect for all of the blocks for where MAE is a requirement that you are going to be adjusting your MAE assumptions similar to what you're doing for choice 2 right now?
Yes, we believe that more holistic approach that evaluates the inherent sensitivity in the assumptions is more prudent. So I believe for certainly most of the blocks, we would use that approach. It could vary depending on possibly in blocks where we don't have the necessary data to make that determination. We may have to use a simplified approach. But it is case by case, and we try to use the most robust assumptions we have in accordance with the credible experience we have on hand.
All right, thank you very much. That is all the questions I had. Adam, do you have any additional questions?
I'm okay. I don't have any more. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for being here today and for testifying. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, at this point, I am going to turn over to the public testimony. So we have one person who has signed up to speak publicly, Mr. Howard Benjamin. I believe he has attended on Zoom today. So if...
Benjamin, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great.
Please, thank you for being here today. Just please state your name for the record, and then please feel free to give us your testimony.
My name is Howard Benjamin. I have been a Genworth policyholder for over 20 years with lifetime benefits and a 5% inflation kicker. My policy itself was closed in about 2008. After that, we've received our first increase. As Mr. Wyszynski explained, that we've had about 5 increases over the years. And right now we're paying way over what we did originally, although only 5% kicker doesn't really keep up with it. The premiums are hard to maintain. Genworth has always maintained insurer. The insurers fail to calculate life expectancies. And we understand that. But we, the public, didn't know this was going to happen. We have to perpetually raise our premiums that we pay. And Genworth has offered alternatives, but none of these other options to reduce benefits like paid up policies, reduced periods, none of these options are any help to the policyholder who has paid more for the increased benefits to date. Profits were made while the policies were open to new accounts. Subsequently, the number of active subscribers have declined in my policy by approximately 2/3. I understand that they're paying out more than they take in now, but the profits were made in the early days. Now, to jump ahead to anticipating what is happening in the future, it's very hard to assess. We had COVID-19 a couple of years ago, and the company, all insurance companies, paid out more for life insurance. But it was a bonanza for the long-term care. People were in nursing homes, and the deaths were astonishing, and that was good for insurers. So, I mean, it goes both ways. Genworth is asking for increase over multiple years, yet the future is so uncertain, as we can see, as we've seen in the past. The company is profitable. I looked at up the share prices of Genworth. 1 year, as of yesterday, to date, Genworth stock has risen 25%, which compares with the Dow Jones up 6%, the S&P up 14%. So it is quite profitable. At a recent shareholder meeting, it was pointed out how many policies have converted to decreased benefits. I mean, I understand that's the way you do business. It doesn't seem fair, but that's the way it is. I see that 83 million was approved in Q3. Sorry, let me take that back. The company does not pay dividends that I can see, or that's listed, but it does have share buybacks. The share buybacks for this year were over $300 million, with another $300 million pending to be applied next year. This represents less than the loss of our policies. So the company is profitable. To ask for increases over 9 years is just beyond the pale. We just don't know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years, let alone 9. I know they anticipate so many people are going to live longer, but I'm just so unhappy about having this policy and living a healthy life, as my wife is, and just paying these enormous increases in premiums that probably we will never get back in any way, shape, or form. So that's my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. I appreciate your comments, and I just want to state, the MIA fully understands how large these increases are and how difficult they would be for members to pay. The MIA also has a statutory duty to ensure that all rates are neither excessive nor inadequate nor discriminatory. And, to the extent that claims have been underprojected, we have a duty to make sure that premiums are enough to cover the claims. But that being said, we always do our best to balance that against what the consumers face. And we are trying to stride the line to, make sure that, all companies that do business in our state have enough premiums to stay solvent and meet their policyholder obligations while not charging excessive rates. And so I just want to ensure you that my staff is reviewing all of these filings extremely carefully. There's going to be a large amount of back and forth and our due diligence as we review these rates.
May I just say one more thing, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you.
Yeah, just one more favor to ask. The last time we got an increase, we didn't have any notice of this increase until we got the bill, which was just about 3 or 4 weeks before it was due. Whatever you decide, can we please, as policyholders, I'm speaking for everybody, have notice of the new terms at the same time that Genworth has the notice? Well, it would be Genworth's responsibility to send it out to us. Because when I objected to that and I called Genworth, they said, well, we're just complying with the law. I think it would just be fair all around if we had advance notice. Thank you for your time, sir.
Sure, no problem. And to answer that point, I can have my team reach out to you after this hearing. We do publish the approved rate increases on our long-term care website, which I described how to get to earlier, but by going to the consumer tab and the long-term care link. There's a way to sign up for an email notification when that page gets updated. But just as we have posted the hearing notice for today's hearing, once we have made a decision on the requested rates, the final approved rate increases will be published, and you will be able to see those in advance of getting your actual renewal letter. So I can have somebody from my team reach out to you to help set that up for you. Okay, at this point, I am going to open it up for the members of the public who did not sign up in advance. I'm being advised that we have 2 people that would like to give testimony.
Thomas Scott.
So I'm going to first call on Mr. Thomas Scott.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Mr. Scott. Yes, we can hear you great. Please go ahead and testify. Please state your name for the record as well.
Sure. My name is Thomas W. Scott. And I've been a policyholder since 2002 with the Choice One 7035 AT product. I sent a letter. Well, unfortunately, I sent it to Mr. I've forgotten what I called you, Brad. It wasn't your correct last name. But anyway, I sent a letter to you guys March 1 of 2023. And in that letter, I had asked you, said, what would we do if the policy in about the time that we needed it got to be $35,000 in premium? Well, my math skills are a little weak, but are we looking at a request on the part of Genworth for that policy series, unlimited and inflation, to be 15% a year for 9 years? Is that correct?
Yes, that is a correct description of what they're asking for.
Okay. So my projection then of a $35,000 premium 10 years from March 23 would be correct. That's what it adds up to for my wife and I. And that's obviously not going to happen. I mean, no way we're going to be able to give Genworth $35K. So I guess it should their
Phyllis Scott.
Should their request be granted, then we would have to, at some point drop off. I mean, we'll take one of these, and I agree with
Phyllis Scott.
I agree with Mr. Benjamin that the options Genworth provides are either cost almost the same as what our current premium costs, with the same potential for increases, They're not always the stable premium, or they reduce the benefits to the point that, you're like, well, why am I bothering? So I don't know what else to do other than to ask you to be very diligent in looking at these requests. I find it incredible that we're at this point, 7 years into the increases, and they're still coming back for more and more. It doesn't sound credible. And that's about all I can say. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, for joining us today. I appreciate your testimony. And I believe we have one more person signed up.
Alan Schulman.
Mr. Alan Schulman, if you are on, it's your turn. Please state your name for the record and give us your testimony.
Yes, my name is Alan Schulman. And just to preface, like the last gentleman, I've had the plan for 15 years. When I purchased it, obviously I based it on my financial situation at that time. And I wasn't naive enough to think that there weren't going to be increases, but the letter, not the letter, but looking on your website, finding out that Genworth has asked for 9 years of increases in my particular category of 15% is pretty shocking. That certainly wasn't anticipated. I can understand if Genworth has problems and that has to be dealt with. I don't know whether those problems were brought on by how they, and I'm sure some of those problems were brought on by how they set these plans up. But I think the state has to take into consideration people like myself that have retired and their financial situation might not be as good as it was when they first purchased these plans years ago. On top of that, I guess I have a plan that has a inflation of 5% compounded, and it's obvious that Genworth would like people to get away from the compounding aspect of their plans. What I'm disappointed in that, but what I'm more disappointed is you guys are familiar with the settlement that has taken place. Personally, I think it's very unfair for people that have policyholders to have to make a decision on which option they're going to select based on the settlement prior to knowing what an increase is going to be for this coming year. I would like to see the state somehow have Genworth put off the decision-making process for the end of this month for the settlement until all the policyholders are aware of what the increases are going to be next year. I think those go hand in hand, and you'd be doing us a disservice to make one big decision on the settlement without having, on the other hand, knowing what the increases, if any, are going to be allowed going forward. So I'm just curious if that's something that the state can look into.
Yeah, Mr. Shulman, I will address that. Unfortunately, this settlement is from a federal court case and is outside of the state of Maryland's jurisdiction. So we do not have any authority or power to influence or delay the settlement letters. We only have the authority to review the actual approvals and to modify or disapprove what they are asking for. So we unfortunately cannot do anything about the timing or content of that settlement letter. But as I stated before, we are currently doing it, and we'll continue to do our due diligence in reviewing this, and we are going through their data and reviewing their requests. And we will make a rate decision on these. Realistically, unfortunately, it's not going to be until after the new year. These are complex filings with a lot of data to read through. but we cannot influence that settlement letter.
Do you have any idea, timeframe wise, when you guys are gonna make some type of decision? Are we looking at 3 months, 6 months, 45 days? Typically, what's the scenario there?
In general, my staff takes as long as is needed to review and become comfortable with 100% of the assumptions in the filing. These are extremely important filings. This is a very, everybody has testified about how difficult these increases are to face, and so we do not give ourselves a time frame. So unfortunately, I cannot commit to it. It's going to take as long as it takes for us to do a complete thorough review and make sure that the decision is 100% fact-based and justified.
Okay, the last thing I would say is, I hope you all are going to take into consideration the enormity of the increases that consumers like myself, policyholders would be looking at. And I guess one last question is, when you make your decision, is your decision going to be based on multiple out years, or is it going to be 1 year and Genworth would have to come back the following year for any out year increases? Is this going to be the entire thing that Genworth is looking for now, or could it be a less of a time frame that you guys are going to decide on?
It is too early for us to speak to that in the review process. It is certainly possible that we would approve a multi-year increase. We have approved multi-year increases, for other carriers and for Genworth in the recent past. It's also possible we would only approve a single year increase until my teams had the chance to do their due diligence and look at all the data. I can't tell you one way or the other how these filings will turn out.
I guess the last thing I'll say is, as a gentleman before me spoke, nobody knows what's going to happen 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, let alone 9 years from now. I certainly don't see any downside if the state only looked at 1 or 2 years, because once they make a decision on more than that, and if things changed a lot more positively for Genworth, it seemed like we'd be locked into something that you already approved with might not be appropriate 3+ years from now.
Thank you. Appreciate that comment. We will definitely take that and all of the testimony that has been given today into consideration as we continue our review.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe that is the last person who has signed up to speak. So with that, I thank everyone for being here at today's hybrid long-term care hearing. As I stated earlier, if anybody would like to submit written testimony who has not had the opportunity to do so, the record is open until Tuesday, December 12th. And with that, I think we can end this fourth quarter hearing. Thank you very much.